Church of Christ to share with you good news to live by. This is on Thursday, April the 2nd. The story is told of a preacher who attended a seminar with many well-known motivational speakers and preachers. One of the speakers boldly approached the pulpit and he said to the entire crowd as they listened attentively, "The best years of my life were spent in the arms of a woman that wasn't my wife." The crowd was in shock. He followed it up by saying, "And that woman was my mother." Well, the crowd burst out in laughter, and he gave a stirring speech that particular day. Several weeks later, the minister that was attending this particular gathering, he decided he would use that joke to introduce his sermon. He was a rather shy type of guy that as he approached the pulpit that Sunday morning, he rehearsed the line again and again and again to make sure that he'd get the punchline, but he was a little foggy. Getting up to the microphone, he said, "The greatest years of my life were spent in the arms of a woman that was not my wife." The congregation sat in shock at that moment. After standing there for almost 10 seconds, trying to recall what the punchline was, the preacher finally blurted out, "And for the life of me, I can't remember who she was." Remembering the punchline is important in sharing a joke. It's also important in sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. Quite often, we look at the gospel and we dwell on the fact that Jesus, who is incarnate God, came and dwelt among us. And we tell that story that he lived among us. And not only did he live among us, but Jesus was crucified on a cross. And then he was buried in a tomb. But if all that we do is remember that he was buried and he lived and died and was buried, there's no real reason to rejoice. There is more to the story than that. As Paul begins his letter to the Romans, he focuses on the gospel of God. He makes it very clear from the outset, the gospel is not just that fact that Jesus was born and of the seed of David according to the flesh, but also he was declared to be the Son of God with power according to the Spirit of holiness by the resurrection from the dead. The gospel, the good news, is not only that Jesus lived among us, that he died for us, that he was buried, but Jesus Christ rose from the grave to give us a hope of eternal life, that we would live with him forever and ever. Don't forget the punchline. Hey, we got a few announcements to share with you today. Please, if you would remember in your prayers Don Griffin, who'll be having surgery next Tuesday in Columbus. Also, if you would remember Donald Sullivan, Don Marshall's and Heather Phillips' father, who's recently been in the hospital. Don't forget to check out our worship services on YouTube, our Wednesday night studies on Heroes of Faith on Facebook, as well as our Monday through Friday series on Good News to Live By. Love to have you join us tonight on Zoom at 7 p.m. as we continue our exciting study through the book of Ephesians. Tonight we will be in Ephesians chapter 4. This is Russell Howard from the Richland Road Church of Christ, and we hope to share with you good news to live by. May God richly bless you this wonderful day. Have a great day.